As a producer and a mixer, sharing with a mastering engineer is really useful because it sort of feels like you have an adult in the room the whole time, because mastering is so serious, whereas production and mixing is so fun.
My name's Kerrison. I'm a mastering engineer.
My name is Paul Rafferty. I'm a mix engineer and the producer.
We're here in Permanent Collection Studios in Liverpool in the UK. Me and Paul have known each other for a long time.
Let's get this straight. Was it 20 years? We invited Stephen's band at the time to come on tour with my band, and we hit it off. Stephen was living in Bristol at the time, but then about 10 years ago he moved to Liverpool.
We both shared a space down in town that was different, and it was shared with a few other people.
So my experience before, because I was like doing bands and stuff like that, I'd always been in sort of rehearsal room kind of situations.
We just needed somewhere that was a little bit quieter and a little bit more private and a little bit more ours. It was a friend of ours who runs the record shop upstairs. He said, "Oh, we've got this, there's a basement downstairs, do you want to come and look at it?" It was just an empty, damp shell. And we thought, yeah, perfect. And we spent some time and some money and, built out the walls and tried to build it from scratch as like an all-purpose space that would do exactly what we needed to do.
This is the first, kind of dedicated space where we've actually tried to, kind of set up a studio without having an Oasis covers band playing next door. Most of the time I'm working on mixes, but then we do have artists coming down to record records, and so sometimes I'll just engineer, sometimes I'll be producing the session. Day to day it can be super varied.
There are a few records that have been entirely made in this room, from the recording to the mixing to the mastering, that have ended up on a piece of vinyl upstairs in the shop, which is, that's a really satisfying thing, I think.
How do you know when it's ready? Sometimes you run out of time.
I think knowing what it needs is quite quick, it's quite instinctual. Because we've been in here for quite a while now, the setup's been the same, my monitor level never changes, I know exactly what the room sounds like, I know exactly what the speakers sound like. I'll usually know within the first kind of minute roughly where I want to take it, roughly where I need it to go. And those decisions, those quick decisions that are just reactive to the music, are always the best ones. I think knowing when it's finished is, that's a sort of different question, I guess.
It is nice to have a little bit of time to reflect on things where, say for example, you can walk the dog and listen to the record that you've just mixed, and hopefully nothing sticks out as being a mistake. Try listen to the record when you have to concentrate on something else.
If I can listen to a track and only hear the music and not hear the mix, then I'm done.
As a producer and a mixer, sharing with a mastering engineer is really useful because it sort of feels like you have an adult in the room the whole time, because mastering is so serious, whereas production and mixing is so fun.
I'd like to think that Paul would ask me to master anything that he's done, unless he's, going behind my back.
It's always good to sort of have a look and have a listen to the changes that he would make to my mixes, or what processes he uses within the master. I find it really useful. It's almost like getting direct feedback from the work that I've been doing. I
think you're better at what you do if you understand the other parts of the process. I hope that goes the other way as well. I hope that having someone who specialises in mastering would help the kind of mixing and production process.
The thing about Stephen's mastering is that he's quite hands-off. I never feel that my mix has been disrespected. First and foremost, he's a music fan, and what he's interested in doing is presenting the music that's been made in its most authentic form. That's what we do as producers, and that's what we do as mixers. We want to represent them, and we want to represent their creativity in the most sort of authentic way we can. The fact that Stephen and I have known each other for 20 years, we don't really have to second guess each other's intention now.
The whole vibe of this studio, it feels like a place where music is made, and it feels like a place where creativity happens. We've got the KH310s and the 750 sub. We've got an RME Fireface UFX over there, which is complemented by the RME ADI2 Pro there, which does all my conversion. We've got the Heritage Audio Synth EQ into the Neve 8803 EQ. We've got the SSL Fusion and then the SSL Bus Plus. We have this high voltage audio EQ6S, and finally into the Bettermaker mastering limiter. I'd prefer working with hardware, so most of the time I'll start there. But sometimes you just listen to a mix and just go, this just doesn't need this. I'm just as happy just working in Ozone if I have to.
One of the great things about sharing with Stephen is that he has some really good mastering outboard that also works really well in a mixing scenario. We're using the Fireface UFX and then an old Fireface 800 API 3124 Plus, and the new solid state Logic Pure Drive Octos go into the UFX and the Fireface 800 using a bunch of different hardware bits. We've got a lot of pedals and stuff that I use as outboard. Space Echo is great. Use this JHS colour box a lot. When I'm mixing, I would use Stephen's mastering chain as well to get some extra analog flavour. Stephen chose it. Stephen chose RME.
I first came across it because I needed something at home. I needed something small and portable. I ended up with the ADI2 Pro, that one actually. That was with me at home for quite a long time, and then I realised that that converter would actually be served better here. So I've been quite locked into the RME world for quite a few years now.
I just prefer to have something that works and that I don't really have to think about, and RME fits the bill really well. When I've looked into expanding the UFX, I've found that the community surrounding RME to be super useful. Whilst I'm not super into interfaces, it turns out there's a whole forum of people who are almost obsessive about interfaces, who are so generous and so helpful with the information that they have.
Because of the way we share the studio, we can have two different setups. So when I'm in mastering mode, the UFX comes on and the ADI2 comes on. That's like a perfect kind of mastering setup for me. When Paul is doing tracking, he tends not to use the ADI2 Pro at all, has the Fireface 800 on and a different setup in Total Mix. It's just a couple of clicks and it becomes completely usable for what we need it to.
If I come in, I don't have to deal with the ADI. I can just turn on the UFX, turn on the 800, and yeah, I'm just ready to go.
Listen to music all the time.
There's so many different types of music and people respond so differently to so many different things at different times.
Really think about why you like it, or why you don't like it, or why it sounds good, or why it sounds bad.
I think that the one thing that you have to be is super authentic with yourself.
And once you are familiar with what you like, what you don't like, what your tastes are, the actual technical bit is pretty easy. Like, it's not that hard to learn how to use an EQ or a compressor, but I think learning the taste side of things is something that is constantly developing, I think.
I think it is just really important to be super honest with what resonates with you, because that is going to resonate with someone else in exactly the same way.